Good day, everyone. I'm Captain Gaurav Rana. I run C and Beyond, and we are the recognized partner of Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers. And welcome to this webinar on ICS exam guidance. The reason why we do these webinars are to ensure that people are able to get the relevant information and from the persons who have been in the particular field um, directly, right? And with that in view, we have in our panel Captain Ashok Gogia, who is the chairman of ICS Mumbai branch, and Mr. Krishnan Subramaniam, who is the international vice chairman of ICS as well. So we will be guided in this presentation by both of them. And along with them, I have Captain Vineet Shukla with me, who will assist us in this webinar. So thank you everyone for joining in. And let's take a quick poll on understanding what's your background. So how many of you are mariners, and if you're working at what level, and how many non-mariners and at what level, and if at all, if there's any student as well. So we'll have a quick understanding of the audience as well. So all of us would have that understanding. And as I said, and I'll request if you could keep your mic on mute. If you have any questions, you may put it in the chat window. We would take the questions at the end of the webinar. There is every possibility that your question may be answered during the webinar as well. But in case you have a question which you think you may forget to ask it later, please put it in the chat window and we'll take it later. We'll also request you to keep your mic on mute as well. All right, a few more answers on the poll. In the next 5-7 seconds, I will close the poll. Okay, I'm ending the poll and sharing results. We've got predominantly mariners over here, with most of them working at a management level. Then we've got non-mariners also, and the students as well. Right, guys. We move to the next slide, Vineet. Okay, before we get started, let me also take one more poll in terms of at what stage are you guys in terms of your preparation or registration process, essentially. So you're planning to register for ICS, you've registered and you plan to give exams in November 25. You want to give exams in May 26, or you're still confused? This is not a webinar wherein we are going to tell you about ICS. We've already done that webinar. And if you need more information about ICS, we can share the link of that webinar. But this is more to do with the preparation for ICS. And the agenda over here would be, if we move to the first slide, the previous one, Vineet. So we're going to talk about the challenges of the ICS exam. What preparations are you going to do before the exams? How do you deal with question? And herein, Krishnan sir is actually going to take us through a couple of sample questions as well. And then some reminders before the ICS exam, and then the marking procedure. So it's actually coming from very, very senior people. Both of them are fellows at ICS and essentially are part of the core committees in Mumbai and worldwide. So we'll hear from Krishnan sir and Captain Gogia. All right, we've ended the poll and sharing results. So we've got a lot of people who are planning to give exams this year. Sorry, a lot of people who are still planning to register themselves. But after that, we've got people who are giving exams in November and then May 26. So I'm stopped sharing. And uh, at this stage, if I may ask, if we go to the next slide, request Captain Ashok Gogia. So, Captain Ashok, if you may discuss about the challenges of the ICS exam. As I already introduced Captain Ashok, he is the chairman of ICS Mumbai branch, and he's worn various hats during his career. He also runs a company and a consulting firm as well. So over to you, Captain Ashok, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Uh, Everybody can hear me, so that's great. Uh, to tell you about ICS, I think it for the students, some of them have already registered, and let me tell you, the final deadline for the registration is 9th October. Prior to this, we did have the early bird discount, which ended on the 25th. Having said that, I think you still have about another week to go if you want to get yourself registered. The next thing is people who have already registered. For them, if they want a deferment of the exams, that means they want to defer sitting for this exam, they want to sit in the next year, that's going to be in May. The dates are 15th of October. The next thing is the exams are starting between the 10th till the 20th of November. Uh, People who have who want to know about the results will come out around, they normally takes about 3 months, so they'll be out by the 19th of February. Having said that, what I would like to stress upon is, yes, exams are always a bit of a pressure. You have to go through the system. You have to know by now, people who have registered have probably started studying for at least 1.5 or 2 months prior to the early bird discount dates. So I would suggest that since you have already been devoting your time at it, it should be a time, now is the time, depends how many papers are you sitting for, that you start going through the full syllabus again and try to gain confidence in your preparation. How you do the preparation, we'll come to that later on. But what we can all share, all of us over here have been through the exams, and honestly, we all have our own system, our own unique system by which we study and by which we sit for the exams. Uh, you have to doing well in the exams. We will go through it. We will tell you that where answering is concerned, how you should go and answer your papers and what is required. And do not put excess information, which we'll come to later on. Uh, Overcoming the constraints, I do understand that a lot of, like we had a lot of in the poll, we did see that a lot of people who are sitting for the exams are already in executive positions. I know there's a lot of time management which you have to do, but honestly speaking, if you spend about dedicated 2 hours or 3 hours a day, it can take you forward. Yes. Yes, Gaurav, next slide, please. Okay. Now, in this slides, what they are showing
Um,
is before the exam, what is the preparation? The day before the exam, what should be your state of mind? How you should convince yourself, how you should be cool, calm, and collective. On the examination, before the exam, what you should be, exam day in the examination room, and then exam day exiting the exam room and after the exam. So yes, we have got slides which are covering all these subjects. So yes, Gaurav, could we go on the next one?
Sure, sir. I'll take a poll over here, and then we'll also like to hear from Krishnan sir about the various stages and the exam preparation as well. So over here, if we are on the previous slide, Captain Vineet, um, uh, and I just like to understand the audience, those giving exams in this registration period. So this is a poll only for those who plan to give the exams. Where are you in terms of your preparation? You're just managing to get hold of the study material. You've started to open your books. Have you completed 50%? Or is there anyone who's already completed the entire syllabus and want to revise? Be interesting to know what stage you guys would be at. And
That's fine. No.
I would generally study in the last 15 days a month, and I see most of you are like me. We've got most people who are starting to get hold of the study material, followed by started to open exams. But there are a few uh, very dedicated people who have completed 50% of the syllabus. So kudos to you guys. And at this stage, I'll request Krishnan sir to possibly talk us through the different stages and how do we prepare ourselves.
Thanks, Captain Gaurav. Thanks, Captain Ashok and Captain Vineet. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Very good, very good. Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome on a weekend afternoon post-lunch session. It shows the seriousness. I can see with 64 logged in. Well done. Congratulations. This is part of the step to your journey towards excellence. So well done on that. Each step which you take, whether attending an informative webinar like this, asking the right questions, whether you have decided to write the exam this season or not yet. Interestingly, I saw some responses stating that you're still confused. I always say that confusion is good because only a confused person is the person who thinks, right? So there's a confusion between when to do the exam, which subjects to choose. So at least you have made an effort to start the journey. So well done, all of you. Couple of things at a very macro level. I want to make it clear. I'm sure that there would be people in the room here who have already done a couple of exams in the past. I would request you that if you have done an exam in the past, whether it is just the last season in May or last year, and you have to complete the entire PQE, the 7 papers, please put in the chat box what was your experience, positive or not so positive, and what was your major area of difficulty when you were answering the paper. So those who have attempted the exam in the past, I would request you to do that as we continue with the session, and I would like to hear your views. Those who are doing it for the first time, I'm sure that you would have heard it from your colleagues or heard it from your friends, because of which you decided to enroll for the exam. One of the major difference which you have to keep in mind is that this is not a theory-based paper, which probably would have done it in schools and colleges, or even an MBA, which many of you are doing or would do. The question papers, that's one of the best ways to prepare. If you have not yet seen that, please, that should be your major starting point. Apart from the syllabus, as Captain Ashok rightly mentioned, please look at the question paper. In the upcoming slide, I'll just show you a sample in terms of how to understand the question properly and how to frame your response. Right? Because today's session is about the techniques in terms of how would you frame your answer. This is still a written paper, or if those who are going to write the exam or registered, you would have already understood about it. It's not an online exam. That's a project which is undergoing and not just on the way now. It's still a pen and paper exam, 3 hours essay paper. So the main point to keep in mind is that The responses which are requested by the examiner where you would score is based on practical application. And that's why this is a professional exam leading to a professional qualification. That's why it's aptly known as the PQE. So always keep that in mind. Yes, within the 8 questions which are given in the question paper, where you have to choose 5 out of the 8, you need not answer all the 8, only 5 need to be answered. There would be some questions which may be purely theoretical, right? One example can give you is about, say, Incoterms. But again, not 100% of the question would be theory. There would be, say, sometimes 2 parts of the question, where part of it would be a theoretical one, and then the balance, the next section could be a practical application of that particular aspect. So this is something you have to keep in mind. I would suggest that if you have not yet done, please look at past question papers. There are at least 3 exam season question papers which are there on the ics.org.uk, the main global website, and start attempting, in terms of framing the answers so that you get into that mode of understanding the question and framing the answers. So I would pause here and just Captain Gaurav, if you can see there are any questions already or comments. I can see some there.
Right, sir. I think one question you've already answered in terms of the ICS question papers. The last 3 are available on the website as well. Then it's about the study material. How do you get the study material or the books as well? So, which we could also take it up later as well. But if we move to the next one, Vineet, to the next slide, what I also wanted to ask Krishnan sir is that a lot of times people uh, register themselves but do not sit for the exams. Now, and I've when I passed, I've heard it from a few of my friends. I've also heard this from a few more people. So, is this happening outside India as well? And and what do you think are the reasons why people maybe don't appear for the exams even after paying?
That's very pertinent question, Captain. That so again, if you can put in the chat box those who had registered in the past and not sat for the exams, we would like to hear from you as well. But the general reasons, one is of course exigencies. With all of us are working professionals, so work commitments, etc. Certain things which may come up. Second one, which sometimes is a worrying factor in some of the branches, we have seen this as a major factor, is that a candidate just decides not to appear because they're not confident that they're prepared enough, right? We have been doing these kind of sessions. Most of the branches do this. We are doing at a global level as well, some of the prep sessions. And our suggestion always is that even if you are, for some reason, you have paid the money, you have not been able to defer it, there are deadlines for deferring, please attempt. Please go and write the exam if you are able to manage the time, if you're available for that. So that itself is a great experience. And especially if you have invested the money, do not get in the mode of telling that, oh, I'm not going to pass, so therefore, what will others say? Do not worry about it. Do not be bothered about it. I know people, professionals who have cleared not in the first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt. So, and each of these, gives you that experience. So that's the second reason which I have seen, that people are not confident of passing, therefore they do not write the exams.
Right. So, also it'll be great to hear from both of you in terms of what are the few things that a person needs to remember um, before the person actually goes to the exam center, or after the registration and before the exams. What are the key things that a person needs to remember, please?
Gaurav, can I give my suggestions with regard to the people sitting in the November exam, like Krishnan sir said, Krishnan sir said that yes, make an attempt and go, and even do not have last minute hesitations. If somebody is starting everything, like even if you're sitting for just the two papers, which is mandatory, and you are a non-seafarer and you are not in the shipping industry, suddenly you get to see these two volumes, maybe like Introduction to Shipping and maybe Dry Cargo. What happens is that you get overwhelmed. I'm getting students who are totally overwhelmed. So in that case, I feel that if they are going to register now and sit for it in November, basically you just have about 30, less than 30 days to finish two volumes of books and then sit for the exam and then not be so sure. In my opinion, I would say that do not register now, or if you want to register, you register for the May exams. That is my opinion. But yes, what Krishnan sir said is also that you can sit for it again, you can sit for it again. But yes, there is also a cost involved. So that is one of the reasons I would be of the opinion that be sure when you're sitting for the exam. Having said that, I can see one of the questions which has come up in the chat, which says, until 25th September, there was an early bird discount for ICS fee. So will the same come for May 2026? Well, we have a system over here, and the system is that there's an academic year that starts. The academic year started on the 19th of June, and then the deadline, when is the exam, May exam, when is it ending? Uh, no, I want to know when is this final deadline for the May, that is 2026 registration. So what I'm saying, whenever you have one academic year, they go it by the academic year. So if you get yourself registered and you have already paid for the early bird discount, which is going to be on by the 25th of May, that is going to hold good till the 12th, that was 25th of September. That is going to hold good for your May exams.
Noted, sir. And Captain Vineet, if you could just go on the next slide, or just upload this full slide. Can a person defer the examination, and is there a fees involved to it, and how much is the fees? If any one of you, Captain Gogia, if you could probably tell a little bit.
Yes. You can defer your exams. You can defer the exams. The date for that is 15th of October. Now, they have already registered, they've already done the paperwork, they have gone through the full process. So, for each paper that you defer, there is going to be a deferment fee, and the fee is £65 per subject. There's a fee of £65 per subject. Yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can defer till the 15th of October.
Okay. So you can only defer to the May examination, or can you also defer to the next year November exams as well?
You have an academic year. You have an academic year. Even if you want an early bird discount, which I did have an issue last time when they were sitting for the May exam. If you want an early bird discount, even if you're sitting for the May exams, you have to get yourself registered by the 25th of September. So then the new academic year starts, and then if you want your early bird discount, you have to register for the next academic year.
Okay, understood, sir. So that means the deferment is only in for one academic year. Understood.
Yes.
Now a person has registered, and what should a person now do in terms of, I'm not talking about the studies, in terms of every other thing, Krishnan sir, if you could advise in terms of, registration, what all other than, we'll come to the studies part, but what else could a person be looking at, sir?
I think one of the other questions which normally comes is change of exam center, because all of us are professionals. You may be in a different place during the go, because you know the exam schedule much in advance before you registered. There's always a possibility that you may be in a different city at that time. So if you know that in advance, there is a possibility that yes, you can change your exam center, but again, subject to the timelines. I don't remember it off my cuff, but you can check that. But it is possible to write the exam in a different exam center, even if it's in a different country.
Neelu is there, no?
It's possible.
Jamnagar.
I will just add one point in the previous one, which we're discussing about exam preparation and materials. You need a lot of general reading to be done. Beyond your normal workspace, which you would normally be reading market reports pertaining to your day-to-day job, you need to do a much more broader reading, and you need not really be decisive about, okay, I'll read only about tanker chartering if I'm in that particular industry. For this exam, as much as you can read about trade, about geopolitics, what's happening, what's the impact, about oil prices, gas prices, which has direct, indirect impact, and the wars which are going on at various places and how it impacts everyday trade and shipping. Read as much as you can on the days leading to the exam, or even on the day of the exam. Because if you're able to quote even one thing from that day's news, which has got a relevance to that answer, because bear in mind the answers, I just saw some question about how was the answers marked, etc. There's for most of the question, there's no single right answer. It's all about perspective. It's all based on your experience and your thought process, which you're bringing in and demonstrating that you are a practicing professional in this particular trade, right? So even on the day of the exam, please read the news, and if you're able to quote it, I'm sure that you earn additional points or brownie points there, which could lead to additional marks because you have demonstrated this. You are in touch with the market. You know the implication of what Trump has told at 5 o'clock the previous day evening, and therefore you are demonstrating that yes, you are worried about what's happening to the business, right? Other than that, administrative wise, I think there's a whole lot of information which is there out on the website, where I'm sure Captain will be sharing this slide pack, which has got much more information on each of these timelines and things. But in case of any doubt at any point of time, you should always pick up the phone and talk to the branch or Captain Gaurav, who's a recognized partner of the ICS and assisting with all this to get a clarification.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Could you also advise how is the typical exam format? Essay based, how many questions generally, how many needs to be answered? Any options that the students would also have in terms of, leaving probably a couple of questions or so?
Can you jump? I think we have got a slide on that, the
Yes,
summary
correct.
of that.
Vineet, can you jump to the next slide?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So as I mentioned, those writing the first time need to know, you have looked at the past papers. In each of the paper, you are given 8 questions and you need to answer 5 of them. Each carries 20 marks, so its total marking is on 100. Do not attempt to answer an extra question, even if you have the time to do it. Most of the time, you wouldn't have time. We think that 30 minutes is too much to write an essay paper. It's not. Most of these students would feel a pressure on time. So time management is very important. Do not attempt, because unlike in certain university or school exams, as far as I could remember, in some of the exams, we were given the liberty that you could write one extra answer, and whichever has got the highest marks would be counted. You know, that's not the case here. The last one which is seen there would simply be struck off, even though that may be the one of the best answers which you are doing, right? If at all you are able to do it, and you have an attempt at another sixth question, please ensure that you strike off one of the other answers which you think may not be scoring as much. So only 5 questions will be marked, right? Second is, how do you choose the selecting the questions? So do not jump into starting to answer right from the time you read the first question. You say, yeah, wow, this is a question which I have prepared very well. Let me just start answering. Do not get into the trap of doing it for a couple of reasons. One, you wouldn't have a complete overview in terms of what are the other questions which are there, and therefore, what is the kind of framing of the answer or the outline of the answer which you need to do. So the initial 5 to 10 minutes, what you should do is that read all the questions. In the first thought process itself, select or mark 5 questions which you think are the best ones for you at that point of time, or even if it is 4, that is fine to start with. And then for all 4 of them, please do an answer outline. And that can be done on the answer sheet itself. And I'll come back to that in terms of how to ensure that that is still visible, but not considered for marking, right? So always good to have that outline to be done, because once you start answering a question, your thought process will change. And then after that, you're going to read a question number 2 or question number 3. Many times your thinking is already clouded based on what you did for the first question. And therefore, what is always recommended is that read all the questions, select the top 5 or 4, which you are sure of answering well, do an outline, just bullet points or a mind map or whatever on the answer paper with the question number marked clearly there, so that after answering the first one, and you can answer in any sequence. You could start with question number 8, but ensure that you are writing that question number properly, legibly in the answer paper there. You can start from question 8 or any of that in between based on how well you know that. So it's always good to do the ones which you know very well. Do that first so that your confidence level goes up. But do not get into the trap of exceeding an average of 30 minutes per question, so that you can manage the time very well within the overall 3 hours. So here's a summary of that, where you read the paper, select your questions, write an essay plan, which is like an outline or a mind map, and then write 3 to 4 pages.
Great, sir. So also, how do examiners assess? Are they assessing based on the skill, based on the information, based on the practical aspects? How is that answer?
Can you jump to that slide which shows the sample papers? I think it's a good opportunity
so
to.
probably we could go to the next one. Yeah.
So this is a typical question. First of all, it's very important to read the question and analyze the question before you jump into the answer, right? So many of the questions would have 2 parts or sometimes 3 parts, right? Some of those would be optional in terms of telling that, okay, answer 2 out of the 4 which is given, right? So be very careful to read, because you're not going to get extra marks for something which you need not write, okay? So this particular question, if you read, first thing to understand is that I'll answer all parts of the questions. You have seen that's already in bold and highlighted, because this is a classic mistake which many candidates do. So just an additional point here, along with the question paper which you see on the website, there is a second document which you'll see, which is known as examiner's comments. Please go through that as well, which gives guidance on what the candidate did well in that particular exam, what they did not do so well, And in many of the questions, examiners have started even giving an outline of the answer, which never used to be the case earlier, but there's an improvisation. So please go through those examiners' comment, and it's very valuable in terms of your preparation and the revision. So coming back here, this question has got two parts. So it is very important that you answer and attempt both the parts of the question, because each question carries 20 marks, the answer carries 20 marks, and here it is now clearly divided. Answer A, it is 10 marks, answer B, it is 10 marks. So even if you have done answer the part A of this particular question extremely well with 5 pages or 10 pages, the maximum you can get is 10 marks, right? So this is a very important aspect where many candidates fail to read the question under pressure. You forget that it is all parts of the question or both the parts, etc., and dividing your time in such a way that you are giving justice, you're doing justice to both the parts. So you can imagine just 15 minutes for part A here, 15 minutes for part B. If due to some reason you have more time and you think that, oh, there is two more points I could add to part A, you could still add it at the end, number very clearly, telling that this is pertaining to part A of question number 2, and give those additional points there.
Great, sir. I think you explained in a way that how do we do a time management, how do we plan for the examination, and you've also explained us how do we approach a particular question. There's one more question which came in the next slide. Do you want to explain about that as well, Krishnan sir? This came in May 23.
Right. Yeah. So the second aspect in attempting a question is that all of us are working in different fields, and there's a tendency that we immediately jump to a solution based on our current experience, our current role, right? So for example, if you're working for 10 years in a broking house, the moment you see a problem statement there, you would start thinking like the broker, which you are always tuned to. So this is one major shift which you have to do while answering the question, that you have to get into the shoes of that role which is mentioned in the question. So if you see this particular question, clearly start with, you are owner's appointed agent. You might have never worked in an agency house. You may be dealing with them and know what they do, right? So please, in between writing the answer also, after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, pause, go back and read the question. Because it is quite natural, it's a human tendency that you start writing and after 10 minutes, you get into the default mode of being a broker, and you'll start writing the answer based on a broker, which could be totally different from what is expected in that question. So as you read this question, please underline them, highlight them, and in between you answer the question, please come back, because at the end of 30 minutes, you would not have time to come back and correct it. So understanding your role in that question is of extreme importance, because you could get the answer totally wrong. Whatever you write may be valid, but not relevant to that particular question, right? So in asking this question, you have to ensure that you are thinking like a vessel, an agent who is an owner's appointed agent, because agents can be appointed by the charterers also.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And while we were on this, we've got a very relevant question from Captain Yogesh, and he's asking: is there a minimum length that we should be that we are expected to write for an answer? Generally, we during our school days we used to have at least say 3 sheets filled up to ensure that we got good marks. Is that criteria still the same?
Well, yeah, this is always a dilemma. You could go do font size 20 and say I filled up 5 pages. So, ultimately, what matters is the quality. But however, there is an expectation that these are essay type questions, right? So just giving bullet points is not enough. Unfortunately, in our workplace today, we have moved from writing essays to bullet points to WhatsApp language. a different kind of lingo in communication. But from an exam point of view, you would have to write, 3 to 4 pages. I'm not, again, cautious that I'm not generalizing it, because there could be certain questions which could be just drawing a graph or giving an outline or a flow chart would speak volumes about what you know about that, right? So essay type, yes, you would have to write enough if it is descriptive. Some of the questions, for example, let us take this question itself. The final, what you're expected to do is here, right? The initial 2 statements are just, or 3 statements are about the facts. Up to this, subsequently, the owners have claimed general average. What do you understand? You means, again, please get into the shoes of the owner's appointed port agent. What do you understand by this term? This term means general average, and outline the additional requirements. So, which means that you should know what are the general requirements and what are the additional requirements which the port agent will have to undertake during the port call. So your answer would be in multiple. So here itself we can see there are multiple parts, though it is not clearly marked as part A, part B, part C. You can clearly see this. So please keep underlining this. What do you understand by this term? This is one part. Outline the additional requirements which the port agent will have to undertake during this. So this is clearly 2 parts. Understanding of this term would definitely be marked as 10 marks or slightly less than that, because the second part here, so that's why it is not clearly marked as A and B, because the marking scheme for this may not be exactly 10 and 10. If it was clearly 10 and 10, they would have put it as part A and part B. Wherever it is part A, part B, like the one which we showed before, it would be clearly divided as 10 marks and 10 marks. Okay, hope that answers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. We move to the next slide, Captain Vineet, and at this stage, maybe I can ask Captain Ashok to come in, wherein I'll request if we can, Captain Ashok, if you could help us in the marking procedure. How is the marking procedure done? Vineet, the next one.
Okay, so let me
One more.
first.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
Let me just go back a little bit. What you had asked about the length of the answer. Yes, length of an answer, if it is descriptive and it does have 2 parts, you have to, like in the previous question, you have to mention in full details, and it does run more than 2 to 2.5 pages. However, depending on a descriptive answer, as if you have to draw a diagram and then you have to label it, it could be just 1 page or 1.5 page. Now, I was invigilating the last exam, which was invigilating. One of the students had finished the whole question in 1 page. I saw it and I was a little doubtful. So I made a general announcement that just don't label it, mention something about it also. So it wasn't specific to that particular student. And when the results came out, they had all passed, So my question was this, that do not necessarily fill up the pages just because you think that filling up pages is going to get you more marks. Answer to the point, and it is very easy for the examiner to understand that whether you know the subject or you don't know the subject. Like Krishnan sir mentioned it earlier also, that the basic fundamentals of what you are doing, it's a profession and you have to understand the profession. Once you've understood it, it will not be difficult for you to go on and explain it. And also related to the current incidents that are happening. Being professionals, it is not necessary that whatever incident or experience you have been through is going to help you in the exam. It will also help you later on in your profession, because it is knowledge And that's how you use it even in your next fixtures, or if you are an agent in your agency, whatever it may be. Try to get into the theme of things, try to get as much understanding as you can about the profession, which is going to be, it's going to be help you all throughout your life. So that was just to add on to that. Now, yes, the marking procedure. Yes, like I said, it is not restricted to the questions. They also have, when people who are doing their tutorship and they do have workbooks, it's not really restricted or limited to the questions which are there. It is a profession. So being a profession, like I mentioned earlier also, it could be mentioned in different words. And once it is in different words, you have to get into the core of it and try to understand what is the examiner asking. So that is the first part of it. And it's not difficult, like I mentioned earlier, for the examiner to guess that whether you know the subject or you're just trying to fill up the paper. So please try to do the subject as a professional and try to get the in-depth analysis of whatever subject you are doing. The papers are marked by the examiner and then can be passed on to the independent assessment for further consideration. Yes, there is, like I said, where marking is concerned, they want to, know what are your fundamentals and whether you have been able to understand the question. The second thing is, yes, you can ask for a review. You can ask for a review, but then again, there is a charge for it. There's a charge for if your examination needs to be reviewed, which is the charge over here. Examination fee. Where was the charge? Yeah, deadline, exceptional paper, November. You had mentioned the charge somewhere, no? They have to review and deferment, examination session, results published. Then a registration fee, early birthday discount, examination fee, exemption, deferment. Yes, there is a charge for it. I don't have the figures in front of me now, but you can get it reviewed. And also the other thing is when they are passing the comments on the net, if you go and you check, they have given you guidelines how the previous people answered. It's an assessment where they have accumulated most of the questions that have been answered. So please go through that. It will give you a general idea what was missed out and what should be included. Next, finally, the papers can be looked into by the Board of Examiners themselves. Like I mentioned, it can be assessed. And if somebody has some reasons for being not absolutely satisfied by the review, then it can go back and it can be for the Board of Examiners who can check it again. But it comes as with a price tag. I'll let you know what the price tag is, but it comes at a cost.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for that guidance, sir. And especially when you were the announcement which you made during the examination center, which probably helped people to understand
Yes,
how they
yes.
should prepare. Thank you. So there's a question, and and if I may direct it to you, Krishnan sir. So are all the questions coming from the textbook only? And is that, I mean, you said of course general knowledge should be there, and if not, then how do they prepare if it's beyond the textbook?
Right. So there's a bit of history here. Those who have seen the textbooks, purchased the textbooks. So the textbooks are something which goes beyond the exam, right? For the exam, the most sacrosanct document is the syllabus, right? So that's what is out there on the website. The institute says this is the syllabus based on which question papers are going to be set and based on which you are going to be assessed. The textbooks are not revised every year, whereas you will find that though the syllabus may remain the same based on what is happening in the market, the questions will change. Right? That's why it is very important to read the past exam papers along with the syllabus, which are the two primary documents based on which the questions would come. The books, however, would have most of the topics. It may not have all the topics which are there in the syllabus, because we are in the process of revising certain subjects now. And certain books, sometimes both goes hand in hand on the syllabus revision as well as book revision. Sometimes they need not be synchronized as well. So the short answer is that the books are not really like a guide for the exams 100%, right? Most of the topics will be there. It is a general one, and I know about candidates referring to maybe old editions, which may be 5-year-old, 10-year-old. Certain things concept-wise may still remain the same. However, the books are not 100% foolproof one. It is a good addition for preparing for your exams, but please do not consider that reading the book alone would help you to pass or have a distinction. One of the major change which happened is that previously these books were being sold only as study materials along with the tutorship. But then about 15 years back, it was de-linked where the book started. So today you would find books being sold to corporates where they just use it as part of reference book, libraries, etc. Hope that answers.
Absolutely, sir. I think that was fairly useful. Then there's a question from Amrit. So he's asking, there are questions on conventions, Marpol, CLC, STCW could be. So what do people actually should be reading about these conventions? Do they need to remember when was the convention came into force? When was a particular amendment coming in? The history behind it. So what is it that a person should possibly focus on?
Can I answer that?
Please, sir, please.
Okay, yes. Conventions, they will not be asking you the dates. They will not ask you the timings as to when they were implemented. However, having said that, to express your knowledge on the paper, if you are answering a question, mention the conventions if you're aware of it, like most seafarers and master mariners are aware. But when it comes to a chartering paper, or it comes to a dry cargo chartering, in the charter party, they have mentions of Hague rules, Hague-Visby rules, and then they have Rotterdam rules. So when you are preparing a charter party, it is good to mention, because that is the liability. That's the liability which comes on the owner when he has to, and that is recoverable. So please mention it. You can mention P&I Club also, but the exact details of that kind of legislation or the documents which are contained in there is not necessarily required to answer. That is the first thing. And secondly, what I wanted to also add is the questions, like somebody asked, are they related to the book? It is a generic thing. They are giving you a generic knowledge. Like, earlier we used to have in schools, the idea was, the other day I was listening to Sabir Bhatia also. He says, India, the concept is cram from the book and just spill it out in the paper. That is not there anymore. They have got exams where they want to know what have you understood and what is your knowledge about it. So the book is an excellent guidance. It tells you to search. It tells you to get your as much knowledge as you can. So the fundamentals are there in the book, but answering the questions in the paper, you have to have a rather generic knowledge. Now, in my exams, when I sat for the exams, I'll tell you a personal experience that they asked me a question that if there is some kind of a weather or a disaster or a natural disaster, will the shipping industry go up or will it go down? And if you have any live examples, please mention that. It so happened that we had the tsunami about I think about just about 6 months back or a year back or something. So I mentioned about that. And honestly, I not only the examiner must have felt good about it, but I felt good about it because I had related to the current incidents and also managed to answer my questions well. So please keep in touch with the current affairs, the current movements, and there's lots of it available on the Google, on ChatGPT, on Wikipedia. Like most of the people who I teach, they mention that, oh, we refer to this, I refer to this. I think that's an excellent thing. Try to gain your knowledge from all these search sites which are available and try to answer them.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks, and noted. Krishna sir, would you want to add further?
I can just add there, I'm just looking at May 2024 question paper, where the first question in Introduction to Shipping is about define and briefly discuss this Maritime Conventions codes, which is MARPOL, ISM, STCW, and SOLAS. So one more very important aspect, as I mentioned, that you should remember which role you are in while answering that question. Please do not forget which subject you are writing, especially those who are writing multiple subjects during the same exam season or even later. This is again a very big trap which we can get into, because a bills of lading question in a legal principles, the way you need to answer is different from bills of lading in a chartering. Yes, the question may say that, but you would have prepared bills of lading from different angles. So please bear in mind these two things: which subject are you writing, and then what is the role which is demanded there. So here, Introduction to Shipping is a general paper. There are 4 parts, 4 terms which are given to be explained. So 20 marks is straight away divided by 4, because the question says answer all parts of the question. So it is 5 marks for each of that. And then it says define and briefly discuss. So there is a definition of all these things. Again, it's there in the website and in this PPT, which will be shared. Each of these keyword is very clearly elaborated. What does define mean? What is expected in the answer? Don't go by the dictionary English meaning of define. The ICS meaning of define is given in that guideline document. There in the main website also. And it says briefly discuss. So you have to define what is MARPOL and briefly discuss. So do justice in terms of 5 marks for each of those, in terms of what needs to be written there, right? And in terms of the current relevance or what is happening with that particular convention, etc. As Captain rightly mentioned, it's not so much about when did it start, how many signatories are there, etc., etc. More about relevance and always wear the hat of the role which is asked and the question which you are writing. I also saw a question, if maybe jumping to that particular subject, is about job opportunities. Yes. Ultimately, we are all investing. I invested my time and money in this, but in getting the ICS, because I wanted enhance in my career. That is the most natural thing all of us look for, right? Just like any other qualification, even when we do a degree, an undergrad, a postgrad, nobody guarantees in terms of telling that yes, you will get a job. There are generic indicators which are there based on the pedigree of that particular college, etc. General indications are given. So the same thing applies here also. ICS is not a guarantee for a promotion in your workplace or a job. However, what happens is that you become part of the network. For example, when I did the exams, it was with the intent of enhancing my career, which definitely happened, but it did not happen automatically. I invested my time again in terms of being part of the network, right? So being out there, being updated, so the membership comes with a lot of benefits. Of course, you will pay an annual membership fee to maintain the membership. And that is what really brings in the value, whether it is enhancing your job, getting a new job, or even those who start their own business, they see it as an exclusive, a very good network of 4,000 professionals worldwide. And then also to talk about the student network. So we also need to count the network of those who are writing the exams who are not yet become members. That itself is a big network. Let me give you an example. I'm based in Dubai, part of the Middle East branch. So we started something known as the student lounge, where any student who's registering, we started adding them to a WhatsApp group. So that became a discussion forum. Doubts which are there. For example, all of you here who are registered, you could start, the branch could start a WhatsApp group. And over a period of time, so many people cleared the exam, so then they are added to the members group. But many of them said, do not take me out of the student lounge, because there was so much business which was being discussed in the student lounge. Even today, somebody needs a vessel, there's a cargo, or there's a question about a cargo being stuck there, or an insurance. So the real value of the membership, one is, of course, the knowledge you gain by writing these exams. You select certain subjects, you get a certificate, you get an advanced diploma first, and then get the PQE. That is just one part of the whole thing. And then in the market, of course, the awareness is increasing now, where employers, I'm not telling that all employers are doing it, but at least those who are aware of it, where we have fellows, like, for example, I sit in the recruitment board of the company where I'm working with, the Transworld, and for the relevant job, we say that an ICS qualification is preferred. We don't say that, yes, you will be employed only if you have an ICS. We have not come to that stage yet. However, where people are aware of the quality of the certification, those employers would definitely say that there is an extra point which is given at the time of shortlisting your CV. So it's again not a straight line that you put MICS or FICS, you get a job. Again, you have to demonstrate that, yes, you really are able to perform based on the qualifications which you have. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. So it's not a guarantee, but we have seen enough and more cases wherein people have got a job because they were interviewed because they had a ICS qualification. So that's the path. You'll there are more chances of you getting an interview if with an ICS qualification. And so there've been a few questions where people have asked about the preparation other than ICS books, other than the books which are available. How can you prepare for the exams? And in this regard, I'll request Captain Vineet to discuss about that, and of course, Captain Ashok, and how ICS Mumbai branch could also help. So over to you, Captain Vineet, if you could tell about the preparation.
Gaurav, just before Captain Vineet, I would like to, like I had mentioned earlier, that there's a charge for it. There is a charge of £160 in case you want to get your papers reviewed. So just search on the web, and that's the charge. So if people are not happy with the results they've got, and they did feel that they've done better than the marking which they had received, they can get the papers reviewed, but there's a charge of £160. Okay.
Noted.
And the next thing is that what Mr. Krishnan was mentioning, I think where ICS is concerned, like any other profession, no job is guaranteed. However, let's look at the benefits. The benefits is that you get instant recognition the moment you walk into an office with an ICS qualification. Reasons being that they all know every shipping company has somebody up there who has got an ICS qualification, and also they understand that this is an exam which is conducted and recognized internationally. It brings you up to a certain level of knowledge, of a certain level of understanding. So it is easier to recognize that you have that level, and chances are, like you had also mentioned, chances are that you will be able to get into it, and you'd be preferred to a person who has not done it. Just to add a little more to it, is that I had people who had done their Narottam Morarji about a couple of years back, and they wanted to move to Dubai and they wanted to move to Singapore. So when they came to me and then they did these exams, I asked them as to why are you doing these exams? They said, we want to go abroad. So fine, local qualifications are totally acceptable. But if you want a placement abroad, or you are filling up forms for any kind of a job, it is definitely very helpful. There was a time when people who were migrating to Canada, they would get additional points if they had done the ICS qualifications. So that is the value you get because of ICS. Jobs,
Fact, now
job,
while you are on that point, in if you're going migrating to Singapore, I guess ICS qualification adds some extra points as well. Sorry to interrupt, sir. Please go ahead.
no problem. That's perfectly okay. So that is the value you're getting. Reasons being, another point is that all of us who are in the ICS, who are either promoting ICS or are the office bearers of different branches, it's all voluntarily. It's all voluntary. So there are no shortcuts. There are no backdoor entries which you can do and get through this exam. You have to prepare, you have to come up to that level. So that is the instant recognition you get when you are looking for a job. That's it, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your advice. So, Captain Vineet, if you could just tell about the resources available for the preparation other than the books.
Yeah, so like we said, the books are also available, but whereas we are also preparing the uh, video chapter-wise courses, where we are preparing the videos based on the books. Each chapter is discussed by one of the experts, and they are sharing their detailed knowledge about the subject, each topic, and you can access those through our website. So like this course for legal principles, it is being prepared by Ms. Hoffa, who is uh, herself a lawyer, and she has a deep experience in maritime and shipping business. So she has prepared that course. It involves almost 58 hours of total duration, whereas 20 different lectures, each covering various parts of the topic. Whereas if you see the shipping business, this one is prepared by Captain Basu, who has extensive sailing experience as well as a shore expertise. He has been into very serious roles in commercial chartering in Parekh Marine and different companies. And currently, he's also teaching in one of the colleges in Mumbai. And there you have almost 18 lectures. These lectures are broken down into 20 to 30 minutes each, so that you don't have to sit for longer durations. You can do it at your own pace. We are covering the entire the syllabus of the each subject, but you can do it one by one, depending on how much you are grasping it. You can go back and revisit the chapter, can go back and then revisit a particular topic. And then if we see the next ones, so we have another marine insurance. This is done by Captain Naresh Kumar, who is himself a MICS. So most of this is prepared by people who have themselves cleared these exams. They have been extensively working in the maritime sector or in the particular field related to the topic or the subject. And in each of these videos, you will also have, in some of them, you will have multiple videos explaining you how to answer the questions uh, based on the previous year question papers. So, like if you see dry cargo chartering here, it is done by Captain Basu, and this has almost 17 hours of videos available to you. This is very extensive, I would say, and here you get almost 8 hours, 8 hours of question answer sessions also available with you in this particular module, and it covers multiple previous year questions. So you get to know if this is the question, how do I go about answering is, what should be the length, what are the content. So it will give you an idea how to prepare yourself first based on the topics given in the books, and then slowly take on the question papers, try answering them with the help of these tutors, And this is particularly helpful for people who are not based in towns like Mumbai, or who don't have access to offline tutorship. So you will have access to these courses online. And we are also in the process of preparing this for all the subjects in ICS. So far, we have almost 6 to 7 already launched through our website. And I think within next month or so, or 2 months, we will have 90% of the topics covered through our portal. So this is how you can see. The last one I will say is shipping finance and port agency. So, like shipping finance is being covered by Mr. Vinay Naidu. He has extensive expertise in the finance department. He is taking classes also in some of the colleges. So he has prepared these modules and 23 lectures for each chapter. And same way, port agency, you can see almost 20 hours of learning available with you. So depending on the subjects that you are choosing to appear for your diploma or for your PQE, you can try to opt for these tutorship options also, and avail this opportunity to help you out.
Thank you. Thanks, Captain Vineet. We are also holding an offline session, and let me share that presentation as well. So on 26th of October, for those who would like to, have a face-to-face understanding on how do you give an examination, there is a full day session wherein we are going to teach you how a question needs to be answered, what is it that the examiners look at, how do you place your, how do you manage your time. And this session would again be done by Krishnan sir, Captain Ashok would also be there. And it beautifully aligns with the India Maritime Week. So for the people who are outside Mumbai, it may be better, you could also plan your trip during the Maritime Week. You could visit that, which is happening in Mumbai, and have a and attend this offline preparation. And those in Mumbai, you're most welcome. We'll also this will be chargeable though, but we'll also arrange for a lunch, tea, coffee, everything at that particular place as well. So that's on the preparation part and how we could help. I'm sure Captain Ashok would also add on how you could prepare other than books as well. And over to you, Captain Ashok, and then we'll take each question on the chat window one by one then.
Yes, thank you, Gaurav. Like most of it has been already said, but where preparation is concerned, we have by now, I'm sure everybody has passed exams, everybody has sat for exams. Everybody has their own style and their own method of doing. I would suggest that study you have to do. Besides that, it will be a good thing if you would answer the questions, you write the questions, try to test yourself out. If there is if you're going to devote about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to a question, actually write it out. And then I used to do that because I did the economics paper and I knew zero. I knew nothing about economics. And I was in between ships, so I did not even decide to take tuition. But honestly speaking, it helps you out. All you have to do is to be very dedicated to it, write it down, and 3 hours of writing is a fairly long period of writing. So it's about time that before you sit for the exams, you write it out. Then the other thing was understand the question, understand what is the core requirement, which I've mentioned earlier also. So, yes, you should understand. Do not write more irrelevant stuff which actually puts off the examiner, because then you start indicating that you are confused rather than you are focused on the subject. Again, mentioning that you have to mention it to the current subjects, current issues, read the papers. There's lots of it available on the chats, on Instagram and stuff like that. So please go through it and try to make a profession out of it. I'm telling you, if you do it the way I'm telling you, you will not have difficulty clearing your exam.
Thank you, Captain Ashok. Thank you. Let me now take the questions from the chat window. And there's a very interesting question from a person who is not a mariner. He's an MBA graduate, 5 years in the commercial side, and he's asking how could ICS be beneficial for his career growth. Krishnan sir, would you want to quickly? I know you had answered it before as well, but if you would like to summarize your previous one, please.
But I'd again say that everybody's journey is different, in terms of their own career, though there could be some generalization in terms of career path and the career ladder within a company. So it's always good to know what's your goal, right? So I did see some question in terms of you want to become a broker, what are the most relevant subjects? So that's a very focused approach. Okay, this is where I am today. I want to become a broker, or I want to get into a chartering house from where I am doing only operations. So then based on that, your qualification would help you. And my own journey, when I moved to Dubai with Shell, I was looking for an additional qualification. So I had to decide between whether I would do an MBA or an ICS. And I chose ICS because in Shell, from the London office, it was being supported, it was being recognized. So I had the seniors who had already done that to guide me. And I wanted to remain in chartering and continue to be in this particular field. Therefore, I chose an ICS. It's not to say that as an MBA is not relevant. It depends upon your goal as to where you want to go, and then bring in the relevance. I even mentor students now because I teach actively in other colleges in terms of telling that no, ICS is not the right thing for you. Do a CIPS, which is in purchasing and supply, because they wanted to do more into supply chain and procurement. So therefore, ICS is not the right thing, even though I would love everybody to be an ICS qualified. It depends upon where you really want to be. If you need guidance on that, we are there to help you. I also saw a couple of questions. Preparation, let me tell you one more thing. In today's world, we are not used to writing at all. Even the maximum probably some of us are doing is signing a check. Even that has gone away now. So therefore, it may sound really silly in this era, but please practice writing, because I've seen people who have prepared well. They use electronic methods to prepare, but when you're there in the exam hall, your wrist doesn't move, right? Because we are not used to writing forget about 3 hours, even for 10-15 minutes, we are not used to writing. So it helps two ways. One is, yes, again, legible handwriting, because ultimately if the examiner is not able to read and understand what you have written in the paper, even though you would have written with the best of points and best of intention, that doesn't give the ultimate result which we want. Right? Do you want to take the other questions, Captain? You can summarize that as well.
Sure, I will. I think one interesting question, is there a validity to ICS qualification, PQE qualification?
Not really. It's not a COC. It's not a competence-based one. In fact, we have got many cases. Captain Gaurav himself is smiling, where you pass the exam today and you decide that, okay, I'm okay with it now. I will take a membership only later. That is still valid. And even if you have passed the exam 10 years back and you want to become a member today or 5 years later, it is still possible. So there is no expiry date And just as in any other qualification, there's no expiry date for the PQE.
But to retain your membership, you have an annual membership fee which you have to pay. If you want to keep the validity in the sense that on your card, you'll probably be writing member of the ICS or fellow of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers to validate that, and for the industry to recognize, yes, you are an active member, then you have to pay. There's an annual fee which you have to pay. That is the requirement.
Right, sir. Noted. Another good question from Senthil. What distinguishes a good answer from an average one? Krishnan, sir.
Being to the point, address the question always, not based on what you know more, or what is happening in the world. A good answer is that which is really answers to the point. I think Captain Ashok mentioned a very pertinent point earlier. Did not write extra things. So certain things which we will do in the full day session is also about what not to write. Right? One is you will lose time. Second is you are going to confuse the examiner, and the moment they lose an interest, telling that you are straying off the point, you may even lose the advantage. Of course, an examiner will give the benefit of doubt, read the whole thing, because your actual points may be hidden in a whole lot of points which you have written, sentences which you have written, which is not necessary. So that's what I would sum up. To the point, that's why I said, read the question again. After 10 minutes, go back to the question, whatever which you have highlighted or underlined. It is very important to revisit that.
Captain Gogia, any thoughts from you?
Yes, I mean, I think we've covered a lot. Do not write, once again, I will just say it, repeat it, do not write more than what you should. But if you do write real life incidents which are happening, or currently, like, India was going, if you were writing a tanker paper, you were going to Russia for oil, and now you've got, vessels which are going to US, there's a tariff is an issue, or now we are going back to Iran, whatever it may be, if you can mention it, it delivers a very good message to the examiner that not only do you know the fundamentals, you can relate it to the question that has been answered, and also you understood everything. And you will probably, like I mentioned earlier, you'll probably use it. If you're a professional, you'll definitely use it in future. Somebody else also asked one question about the MBA and then doing an ICS. Well, if you are getting into the shipping industry, you've done your MBA maybe in marketing or international global trade or whatever it may be, and you want to get into the shipping, it is definitely enhances your knowledge and it adds a lot of value to it. If you
Right.
have a job and you further want to do it to enhance it, it is even better. So yes, we do have people who are already in the companies, but yes, masters who are there in maybe manning industry, but they say that we have got a commercial division, we want to switch over, so it's a good qualification. So those are the answers which I feel that if you just go by them answers, you do well. Yeah.
Noted, sir. Noted. A case in point over here, and probably we could discuss this. Archit wants to become a broker, and he's requesting if we could suggest 3 optional subjects which he could appear for.
Yes, optional subject means the thing is this, he's definitely either he's going for dry cargo or he's going for wet cargo. That of course is going to be mandatory. But the 2 subjects which I would do for in case you are not yet sure that you want to go into brokering and you still want an additional subjects, do both of them. Do tanker chartering as well as you do your dry cargo chartering. That's one. Which are the other subjects? You have got dry cargo chartering, then ship operations and management. That will cover 4, 5, 6, 7 we have covered, and then which is the other one? logistics, no. Port and terminal management would be a good one because you get a good idea about how the ports are being managed. So there we've covered, you've done the port, then you've done dry cargo, you've done wet cargo, then you've done ship operations. And like I mentioned earlier, if you did port and terminal management, you would you would get an understanding of what is happening ashore. You could also do shipping law, which helps you to further enhance the legal knowledge which you gained earlier in shipping business. Uh, Idea is this, that you don't change over to multimodal transportation if you're trying to do dry bulk or if you're trying to do wet cargo chartering. So if you stick to it, it's going to take you forward. So that is my suggestion, that try and stick to the line in which you have already got yourself educated in.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much. I'll take. I'm going through the questions. We've already answered the question between ICS course or MBA. So basically, if you're wanting to get into commercial, I don't think there is any other or any better course than ICS. Sumit, your question, you're a master mariner and you're asking whether the PQE qualification will give you a lead. Absolutely, we have discussed this before. So it gets you a foot in the door. It definitely helps you to get into an interview. Whether it helps you to get to a job, that's not a guarantee, but it gets you to that place, gets you to an interview. Is it mandatory to hold a ICS membership after clearing exams? Amrit, no. Case in point, I cleared my exams, I don't know, maybe about 2011. I took my membership a couple of years back only. So not immediately. It's not mandatory. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, Krishnan sir.
Can I just add one thing there? So yeah, it's not mandatory at all. And I saw another comment or question related as to what is the value of paying the membership fee versus just passing. So just by passing the exam, you cannot you could put in your LinkedIn profile telling that yes, you have passed the PQE. And we have seen many cases where candidates pay the first year's membership fee to get the certificate and then they discontinue, but continue to use the post-nominals of MICS, which is not allowed as per the institute bylaws. If you have to continue to use the post-nominals and even retaining the certificate and the tie or whatever is given, you should be a member in good standing and paying the annual membership fee. Though the institute has not enforced it in terms of policing it but however, as we move to the digital, I am privy to a project which is going on the digital exams and digital certificate, as which is happening in many universities where we have already implemented. You will get a digital badge where if you mention in your CV as an MICS, the employer can immediately make out, those who know about the ICS or want to cross-check it, they would know that you are not a paid-up member. You might have passed the PQE and got your certificate after the first year. So be ethical there. Okay, if you say that there is a value of putting the MICS, as well continue with the membership. Because I know that many people discontinue telling that they're not in a relevant role. That is perfectly fine, an individual decision. However, if we are investing, I always call it as investment. If I am investing my 700 dirhams or whatever in pounds, whether for a fellow or a member, I ensure that I get an ROI out of that, of bringing in relevance to my business or to the employer who is paying for my membership fee, right? Because I'm part of a wider network. Yeah. If it is not there, the moment it is not there, even I wouldn't continue to be a member. So it is purely individual. We cannot generalize that the membership or paying an annual membership fee will give value or not. Is purely an individual decision.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess Steve, John, and Amrit and Archit, you had questions around this, and sir has answered those questions. Okay. Is there
a lot of questions out there that are very relevant? I know that time is of essence. I would suggest that you should compile all these questions and put it as an FAQ, because there's excellent questions there from different angles. So probably we could take a couple of more depending upon time.
Yep. All right. We'll take the last 2-3 questions. Probably, I know Captain Gogia will also want to leave, and we've already 1.5 hours. So let me take a couple of more relevant. So I think one which is there is from Sumit. Uh, we've generally associated, or probably in someone's mind, ICS is associated with mainline shipping. If someone is from an offshore background, uh, how relevant would the commercial shipping or ICS qualifications would be for him or her?
So can I answer that?
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, now we are talking about shipping as a wholesome profession. The commercial part still remains the same in the fact that you do have offshore, also you have supply boats, you do have a full subject which is there on offshore, and it is basically on offshore support industry. In fact, we also have one of our big supporters on the MICS. He could not be present today. His name is Anupam Rezada, and he is in the offshore business. He also has tugs and he has boats which he is taking on time charter, voyage charter. Often now, every now and then he discusses it. So definitely, it is definitely helpful, and like I said, it is a wholesome thing. It's an wholesome thing, and it has the commercial part is there, introduction is there, you're coming alongside, then you have legal principles, then you have the economics part, you have the business part. So definitely it is also helpful for the offshore support industry.
Thanks, sir. Krishnan sir, would you want to add anything on this?
Yeah, so just to add that even the OSI paper was I think that was the last new paper which was added a couple of years back based on demand from the market. ICS is not a static organization. Even as we speak, we are going to introduce break bulk and project cargo paper in the coming year. So that work is in progress. So it's all about having that overview where you're part of the business. So I learned more about dry cargo and container after doing the ICS, whether it's I've been purely on the tanker side, on the commercial side. So it's about bringing in that holistic approach, especially if you're going to set up your own business or you become a consultant. That's where the relevance comes, apart from, of course, you focus on your subjects. I would just like to add one more thing on this question regarding if you want to be going to broking, we also have sale and purchase apart from dry cargo, because I've seen those who want to specialize in S&P, they also end up doing shipping finance because it is related to what you want to do. So broadly, yes, you can say broking. You may want to specialize, but you could end up doing both the papers. But be aware that many of these papers, especially in chartering, it requires a deeper understanding of the market. If you look at the question paper, you would understand what I'm talking about. It would require understanding where you would be either in any of the three jobs which you are currently doing, either on the owner's side, on the charter side, or the broker side. Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sales and purchase and shipping finance. Let me take the last question from Ayush, and we've discussed about mainline, we've discussed about offshore, now coming to the liner trade and multimodal. So what job roles could a person get into if they take a liner trade or multimodal? So thoughts from you, sir? Krishnan, sir?
Liner trade and multimodal is more related to container shipping. So we have seen more of those who are in freight forwarding, NVOs. They are the ones because it requires a bit of knowledge on that side as well. Of course, liner trade, the current paper is a bit broad one. That's why as we speak, the liner trade paper and syllabus is being revised to have break bulk separate, because that has become a major segment in the market now from a business point of view as well. So break bulk project cargo will be a a new subject, and liner trade will be probably purely on the container side. So today's syllabus, so always look at the syllabus. And LMT also has just been revised. It is under publication now, the book as well as the syllabus, where recent developments are taken into consideration with respect to multimodal transport on air, sea, or rail, and road, all of them.
Thank you, sir. Just to add, I think there are also a few jobs in the agency sector because they've got liner agencies. Also on the port operations as well. There are a lot of container terminals coming up in India, and that's going to increase only. So that's where we could also apply, Ayush. Right. Let me take the last few polls over here. Based on whatever you've seen, would you like to have any support for ICS qualification? Yes, no, maybe. And if so, what kind of support you may need? You are looking for books. Are you looking? You want help in preparation of exams, in registration, or all of the above? Quite an engaging session. I think we've got a lot of questions. I'm sure the more you dig into, you'll have even more questions coming in as well. And we're there to support you as well. You have the email address of ICS as well, where you could write to and get more answers. And wait for the last 5 seconds to close this poll. All right, I'm ending this poll, and let me take one poll on offline help. So essentially what we discussed is that on 26th of October, we'll be having an offline in-person discussion meeting on ICS as well. That'll be in Mumbai, in Powai. IMTC is the place where we would have. So how many of you would be keen to attend an offline session for preparation of ICS, which is on 26th October? I don't think we've had similar sessions before in Mumbai. Correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Ashok.
Honestly, we have definitely had these sessions, and when we were earlier with Samsara Shipping, I used to be there, and Captain Nimesh Maitre, who's our secretary of the Institute Mumbai branch. Yes, we have done it, but we haven't done it on this scale. We haven't gone online. The previous girl who was there, she used to inform all the students who were sitting for an exam at least 1.5 months before that we are going to have 2 sessions. And I used to take dry cargo and port operations, whereas Nimish used to take shipping business, or, we used to share shipping business, and he used to take wet cargo. Yes, it was an informal thing. They would sit around the conference hall of that place called Spaces, which is there in Andheri East, Wall Street building. Yes, we used to do it. It was quite interesting, a lot of interaction. And the best thing was, even people who had not registered for the exam, they did come because they were going to be the prospective students. So it was very interesting. It was a way of, at least we had at least about 20-25 guys, who wanted to know, or even more than that, there were a lot of people who were managing agencies, and they sent their daughters. So that they could pass the exam and they could get into the mainstream of the shipping profession. Yes, it has been done before, but I think we are doing it on a different scale. Times have changed, and we can reach out a lot more. And yes, we've done it before, but I'm looking forward to this one also.
Sure. Thank you. I think we've answered more or less all the questions, and I'll take your question, Amrit, but let me put a poll. But before I do that, let me thank Krishnan sir and Captain Ashok Gogia for being there at
Gaurav, sorry, very sorry to interrupt. I just want to mention one more thing, and that is for everybody who's present today. How many of them are there today? I thought they were, what is the number like?
We had about 75 odd.
75. So please, earlier what the impression of the full industry was that it's a man's industry, whether going out to sea or whether working in the offices. Ladies were working in as a support staff. But honestly, times have changed, and whoever are there, like if there are officers who are sailing or people who want to do this, their sisters or even their wives, if they want to get into it, I am having a lot of lady students coming in. In fact, in the last exam, which we did an introduction shipping, there were almost equal number. It's a profession which is going to expand, which is going to go forward. And even for the feminine gender, it is an excellent profession. I'm sure Krishnan sir will definitely support me when I'm saying that. So it was just a chance for me to share so that people will be, open to the idea of people of this kind of shipping business opening up in the industry.
No, absolutely. I think that's a very valid point. I think more and more diversity is there in each and every profession, and it's happening in shipping and commercial shipping as well. So thank you. Right, sir. I guess I'll take one final poll from all the people over here, and this is a feedback. Were your expectations met? Was the session useful for you, and how would you rate the session? And Amrit, to your question, you want question papers before older than 2024? I guess you should have them on the website. Have a look at the website. If you don't find them, write to us, education@cnbeyond.com. We'll help you. Or of course, Captain Gogia could also support you, giving you the exam.
Yeah, sure. Anytime, any kind of assistance you need for tutoring or anything, I have got students who are directly with me, so you can always come to me.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for your time, Captain Gogia, Krishnan sir, and this session went to close to 2 hours, and I'm sure it was worth the while for every one of us. So thank you so much, and thank you so much to all the candidates, all the students who wanted to know, prepare themselves for the ICS. I'm sure you would have been more enlightened after this session. So thank you.